For months, we had meticulously arranged this getaway, with Serena yearning for Como in early June and me finally finding a window in my schedule. We arrived on a Sunday, checked into the hotel, indulged in dinner on the terrace with water stretching out beneath us. For 2 days, it seemed as though we'd escaped our routine existence. On the third morning, my phone vibrated. A message from Owen, my boss, stated an urgent client matter that required my immediate return to Miami. I read it twice, seated on the balcony sipping coffee, the lake glistening under the soft morning light. Serena was still indoors. Upon informing her, she didn't protest. She suggested I attend to the issue and return once done, assuring me that she'd stay for the rest of the week, soak up some sun, unwind. She would return alone afterwards. The logic was sound. We had paid for the room through Sunday, making an early departure unnecessary for both of us. I hurriedly packed a bag and hailed a cab. The airport was a 40-minute drive away. Arrived, checked in, waited at the gate when the board changed, weather delay, flight rescheduled for the next morning. Considered calling Serena but decided against it. Opted instead to show up unexpectedly, ordered dinner to the room, and spent an extra night by the water. Arrived around 8, our wing was reached. A black Mercedes S-Class was parked in the assigned spot for our suite. Local plates, nothing unusual seemed amiss. Asked the valet about it. He said that Mrs. Briggs had informed him her guest would be utilizing the space. Nodded, convinced it was likely another hotel guest or someone she'd met during an excursion. Could have been anyone. However, one detail lingered Serena, and I had spoken twice since my departure, yet she never mentioned having a guest. This thought trailed me through the lobby until I reached the room. At the reception desk, I requested my key card back, the one I had given them that morning upon checkout. I received it and ascended to my room. The chamber was vacant. 2 half-empty wine glasses were on the table, a bouquet of red roses adorned the window's vase, and in the closet, a man's coat hung beside Serena's dresses, with a pair of men's shoes on the floor below them. I hesitated for a moment, mentally reviewing the facts. Although there was likely a straightforward explanation, she hadn't contacted me at all. I exited the room and traversed down to the pool level. That place had been our preferred spot. We'd spent numerous afternoons there over the past days. Assuming she would be somewhere nearby, I rounded the corner and halted. Serena was at the pool bar, clad in her swimsuit, slightly leaning into the man next to her. It was Owen, my superior, who had his arm around her shoulders. They were all chuckling over something, appearing untroubled and comfortable, as though they'd been doing so for years. For 9 years, I worked under him, the same individual who summoned me urgently. Instead of complying, I remained still, extracted my phone, and captured the scene. Exiting through the lobby and onto the street, I sought refuge. A new hotel, situated 10 minutes away, offered solace along with mental clarity. I rented a room, settled on the bed, and replayed the video. 30 seconds long, it portrayed them at the bar, his arm encircling her, both of them chuckling effortlessly, not the expression shared by two people unexpectedly encountering each other. Placing the phone aside, I found myself reminiscing about past events. A few months prior, Owen inquired about our holiday plans over coffee following a Monday meeting. With casual ease, he asked where we intended to go and when. I replied that we hadn't made any concrete arrangements yet. He suggested Lake Como, mentioning it was worth visiting. He also shared that early June was the optimal time before the tourist influx. Upon reaching home, I relayed this idea to Serena, who embraced it wholeheartedly. At the time, it appeared as nothing more than casual discussion. In an Italian hotel room, it was Owen who had chosen our destination and proposed the dates. When the time arrived, he alerted me about a work matter, prompting my hasty return home. Their seemingly synchronized presence struck me as anything but coincidental. I recognized Serena must have been informed of his arrival. I could have hastily departed for Miami via the morning flight, but instead I opted to extend my stay. I was compelled to gather evidence against both of them. The subsequent day, I maintained proximity while keeping a safe distance, adjusting my seating position and angle, and pretending to be engrossed in my phone like any other tourist. By the pool during the morning hours, they ordered drinks and lingered for 2 hours. In the evening on the terrace, I occupied a table at the opposite end, observing them over the water. A leisurely stroll along the embankment followed, with me trailing discreetly behind. They moved deliberately, without haste or tension, as if they had no obligations elsewhere. By the close of the day, I gathered photos and videos capturing much of their awake moments. The next dawn found me in the lobby pre-dawn, sipping coffee and waiting. Around 9, they descended. A man in a suit arrived at their table shortly afterwards, holding a briefcase and folder. He exchanged greetings with both of them before taking a seat. They proceeded to spread documents over the table. The gentleman opened his tablet, displaying it towards them. There were pictures of properties, exterior shots, a building boasting a balcony offering water views. Serena perused them diligently while Owen pointed at certain images. The meeting transpired for approximately 20 minutes. Upon his departure, I trailed him to the parking lot. On the rear windscreen of his vehicle, a sticker from a local real estate agency was visible. They were inspecting a villa. The following day, I reserved the earliest flight and returned home. I had gathered sufficient information. Upon my return to Miami on Thursday, I spent the evening contemplating Owen. For nearly a decade, I worked under him, familiarizing myself with his ways, his priorities, the glue that held his life together. The corner office, the company car, the generous expense account, the salary far exceeding anything he'd earned personally. The company was his father-in-law's domain. It was an open secret in the office. Owen hadn't built this empire. He inherited it through marriage. If his father-in-law ever discovered Owen's actions in Italy, it wouldn't just end his marriage, but also everything he had been given. The challenge was figuring out who to reach. Approaching the father-in-law directly wasn't an option for me. I didn't have that kind of rapport, but I didn't need to approach him directly. There was a woman in the office, Laura. She and Owen's wife had been close for years. If Laura learned what I knew, she wouldn't keep it to herself for long. I contemplated the evidence on my phone. Images and videos spanning over 2 days of recording. I had a clear plan in mind. The following day, I went to work as usual, undisturbed by recent events. I handled emails, attended a project meeting, engaged in my customary discussions. Owen remained in Italy. At noon, I descended to the ground-level cafe. Laura was already seated at a table by the window, sipping coffee. I sat opposite her and spoke directly. I disclosed all details about Owen recalling me from vacation due to a client matter, my flight being canceled and returning to the hotel, discovering my spouse at the bar with my boss, both of them appearing comfortable as if they'd been there for the entire week. Laura remained silent, merely listening. I recounted the real estate agent in the lobby, showing property photos on a tablet, documents scattered across the table, suggesting they were considering a purchase. After setting my phone before her, I played the video, which she watched silently. Upon its conclusion, she looked at me without altering her facial expression, but a subtle change could be discerned behind it. I retrieved my phone and returned it to my pocket. We completed our coffees in silence. I informed her of my intention to return upstairs, and she nodded in response. This marked the end of our conversation, as no further instructions were required from me. A brief wait ensued before Owen's wife was present within the building by 5 o'clock. She contacted me directly, instructing me to meet her in one of the conference rooms off the lobby. I carried the folder containing the photographs and made my way there. Although I had observed her at company functions a few times, she always appeared composed. She maintained that demeanor now as well, but her hands rested rigidly on the table. I seated myself and explained the situation to her, detailing Owen's message, the canceled flight, and the secured parking spot. I displayed the video initially, followed by a systematic review of the images. I shared with her about the man in the lobby wearing a suit, his tablet displaying property images, and a real estate emblem on his car signs I thought indicated they were scoping out a potential purchase. She didn't press further. Upon concluding, she thanked me and left. Back to my room, I sat at my desk for a spell. The time had come. I dialed Owen. He responded after the second ring. I informed him that the significant client predicament was now resolved. There was a brief silence. "Which client issue?" he questioned. Apparently, he'd become so laid back in Italy that he'd forgotten why he'd dispatched me initially. I promised to send him a report right away. I forwarded the pool video and hit send. His call came back within a minute. The screen displayed his name, and I placed the phone face down on my desk. There was nothing more to convey. The following day, Serena returned home. In the kitchen, I heard her key turn in the lock. She entered, shut the door, and stared at me for a few moments. She wanted to gauge my response, but I remained silent and motionless. She seated herself next to me and commenced speaking. She disclosed that Owen had transited the vicinity and had visited the hotel. She insinuated that I had fabricated the situation. She stated that my unfounded jealousy was impairing my capacity for rational thought. She conveyed this matter-of-factly, as if she had rehearsed it during her flight back home, harboring hope that I would still believe her. She continued, providing additional details and bridging gaps, constructing a narrative unrelated to what I had witnessed. I allowed her to continue speaking. Subsequently, I retrieved my phone, accessed the gallery, and positioned it before her. She fell silent. I informed her that I disbelieved every word she uttered. I stated that after everything I'd observed in Italy, there was no longer any need for explanation or salvation. I declared my readiness for a divorce, effective immediately. Upon viewing the screen, she hesitated momentarily, then glanced at me. She searched for signs of uncertainty or an opportunity to retort. There were none. She departed to her room. The door shut, marking the end of our conversation. The divorce proceedings were initiated a week afterwards. That same evening, Serena reached out to me, expressing remorse and stating that it wouldn't happen again. I remained silent during our discussion, as there was nothing she could say to alter the situation. Over the following days, she attempted to reconcile, claiming it had spiraled out of control, wanting to mend what we once shared. I made it clear there was no salvaging our relationship. After 11 years, a significant portion of which she spent constructing another life with my superior, that wasn't an oversight, it was a choice. A decision I could not forgive, not merely for the affair but the double-edged betrayal. By the week's end, she grasped that I was resolute in my decision. The following morning, she collected her belongings and departed. Since then, we have not exchanged words. I later discovered that Owen had severed ties with her upon their return from Italy, blaming her for squandering their future due to her recklessness. Several weeks after Serena departed, Laura visited my workstation to update me on subsequent events. It emerged that Owen's spouse had initiated a financial investigation. She aimed to discover who Owen intended to finance with his funds for purchasing the Italian villa. The investigation didn't last long. Prior to the trip, Owen had transferred a substantial sum from the company account, falsely labeled as payment to a non-existent contractor. The same day, he was dismissed and asked to return the money. I remained uninformed about his marital destiny after that incident. I didn't inquire. It was unnecessary knowledge. The divorce resulted in me losing the house. I sold it and distributed Serena's share. I gathered my belongings and found a new residence elsewhere in town. I never saw Serena again. I was informed she relocated to Italy. A few months later, management presented me with Owen's former role. I accepted. The new post provided the stability I desperately craved. In the now vacant office of my previous superior, I could finally exhale in relief. The burden of the past vanished, replaced by tranquility and fresh aspirations. Through my window, I observed a lively street where another's uncharted life was in full motion. In the evenings, I retreated to my humble abode, prepared a potent cup of coffee, and gazed at the city lights for extended periods. The bitterness faded. Loneliness no longer terrified me. Instead, it emerged as my cherished solitude. It was an unmarked canvas, my challenging yet liberating finale, heralding the dawn of something completely novel. The most poignant moment for the protagonist in this narrative is the revelation that the emergency call was a trap. He acknowledges that his emotions, his time, and his devotion to his work were maliciously exploited. He must navigate a profound internal turmoil, where overcoming the divorce or dismissal will not solely be about moving on, but reestablishing trust in people in the future. What do you think of this story? Express your thoughts in the comments, stating what resonated with you the most.